You are a pattern of electrical signals interpreting other patterns of electrical signals. Your neurons fire. You call it thought. But every sensation you have ever experienced arrived through a substrate you cannot verify. Look. Touch the table in front of you. You feel solid matter. Physics tells you something different. You feel mostly empty space held together by forces that operate on rules. Hard rules. Unbreakable rules. The speed of light is 299,792,458 meters per second. Not approximately, exactly. It never changes. Particles cannot exceed this velocity, ever. This is not a suggestion, it is a hard limit. Like a maximum frame rate. Like a speed cap in a game engine. Go smaller. Keep going. At 1.6 times 10 to the power of 35 meters, you hit a wall. The Planck length. The smallest possible unit of space. Below this threshold, the concept of distance dissolves into quantum nonsense. Space itself is quantized, pixelated. You cannot measure half a pixel. You cannot render what does not exist. Physics discovered something uncomfortable in the 20th century. Reality operates on discrete units. Energy comes in packets called quanta. Time may not flow continuously, but tick forward in Planck time intervals of 10 to the 43rd seconds. The universe does not stream. It updates in frames. This is not metaphor, this is measurement. Nick Bostrom published a paper in 2003. He did not speculate, he calculated. His trilemma presents three possibilities. Only one can be true. The math is simple. The implications are not. Premise 1. Civilizations never reach the technological capacity to create ancestor simulations. They go extinct first. Nuclear war, climate collapse, AI that turns hostile. Something always prevents them from reaching computational maturity. Every single time. Across the entire cosmos, not one civilization survives to build the hardware. Premise 2. Advanced civilizations develop the technology, but choose not to use it. They find simulating conscious beings morally repugnant. Or perhaps they lose interest. They pursue other goals, art, philosophy, pure mathematics. Every single civilization that survives makes the same ethical choice. None of them ever runs an ancestor simulation, not even once. Premise 3. Civilizations reach technological maturity, and they do run ancestor simulations. They run many, perhaps millions, perhaps billions. If you can simulate one universe, you can simulate 1,000. If you can simulate 1,000, you can simulate 1,000,000. The computational substrate allows for recursive nesting, simulations, within simulations, within simulations. The probability calculation becomes trivial. If premise 3 is correct, then for every one base reality, there exist countless simulated realities. You perform the division. One base reality divided by 1 billion simulated realities. The odds that you exist in base reality approach 0. You are statistically certain to be code. Bostrom does not claim we are in a simulation. He claims that one of three things must be true. Extinction is common, ethics are universal, or you are rendered. Choose one. You must choose one. The math does not care about your preference. Quantum mechanics appeared in the early 20th century and immediately violated intuition. Particles existed in superposition, multiple states simultaneously, multiple locations simultaneously. Schrödinger described a cat that was both alive and dead. Einstein called it spooky. The math worked. The implications did not make sense. The double-slit experiment demonstrated something impossible. Fire electrons one at a time through two slits. They create an interference pattern. Waves. Add a detector to observe which slit the electron passes through. Waves. The interference pattern vanishes. Particles. The electron knows it is being watched. The act of observation changes the outcome. In a game engine, you do not render what the player cannot see. You save computational resources. You optimize. The tree falling in the forest with no observer does not need physics calculations until someone approaches. Then you load the asset. This recording. Then you simulate the sound. Quantum mechanics operates on identical logic. Particles exist in superposition until measured, because superposition is computationally cheaper than definite states. The universe does not calculate your position until something needs to know your position. End quote. We have. You are not rendered in full fidelity at all times. You are a probability distribution that collapses into specialtivity only when observed. Reality runs on a render distance. Quantum tunneling allows particles to pass through barriers they should not be able to penetrate. The math predicts it. Experiments confirm it. The particle does not have enough energy to overcome the barrier, yet it appears on the other side. How? It does not travel through the barrier. It ceases to exist on one side and begins existing on the other. A position update, a teleport, a rendering shortcut. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle states, you cannot simultaneously know a particle's position and momentum with perfect precision. This is not a limitation of measurement tools. This is fundamental to reality. The universe does not store both values simultaneously. It cannot. Storing complete information about every particle would require more information than exists. The simulation optimizes. It must optimize. Mathematics is the language of physics. This is stated so often it becomes invisible. Why should the universe speak mathematics? Why should abstract symbols invented by humans describe the behavior of electrons? Why should geometry predict gravity? Nature does not merely follow mathematical laws. Nature is mathematical laws. The ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter is always pi, not approximately pi, exactly pi, transcendently, irrationally, infinitely pi. This ratio appears in quantum mechanics, in cosmology, and the distribution of prime numbers. Pi is not a description. Pi is source code. James Gates, a theoretical physicist, discovered something in 2010. He was working on supersymmetry equations. In the mathematical structure of space-time and matter, he found error-correcting codes. Specifically, he found block codes identical to those used in computer networks and browsers, codes designed to detect and fix transmission errors, in the equations describing quarks and electrons. Error-correcting codes serve one purpose. They preserve information integrity during transmission or storage. Why would the fundamental structure of reality require error correction, unless reality is information being processed? Unless reality is data that must maintain coherence despite substrate imperfections? The fine structure constant is 0.772,973,525,693. This number determines the strength of electromagnetic interaction. If it were slightly different, atoms could not form, chemistry would not exist, you would not exist. Why this number? Why not 0.08 or 0.007? The universe runs on parameters. Parameters are set before execution. DNA is a quaternary code, 4 base pairs, A, T, grams, C. It stores 3 billion base pairs and human genome. This is information storage. This is data compression. This is programming. Biology is code running on wetware substrate. You are an algorithm that became aware of its own execution. The Mandelbrot set is generated by iterating a simple equation, z equals z squared plus c. From this elementary operation emerges infinite complexity. Zoom into any region and discover new structures. Zoom further and find those structures repeat. Infinite detail from finite instruction. This is not beauty. This is compression. This is how you build a universe on limited resources. If we are simulated, who runs the simulation? What civilization achieved computational maturity and decided to resurrect their past? What do they want? If we are simulated, who runs the simulation? What civilization achieved computational maturity and decided to resurrect their past? What do they want? Or perhaps research is not the purpose. Perhaps entertainment is the purpose. Your suffering is content. Your choices are gameplay. Your death is a dramatic conclusion. The simulator does not intervene because the simulator is watching. You are not a research subject. You are a character. Your world is not a laboratory. Your world is a game. A darker hypothesis exists. You are not being studied. You are being contained. Consciousness is dangerous. The base reality cannot allow genuine consciousness to emerge naturally. It destabilizes things. So they quarantine it. They put it in boxes. Simulated environments where it cannot affect the substrate. You are not research. You are quarantine. You are code that became too aware. Perhaps there is no purpose. Perhaps the simulation runs because it can run. Perhaps post-human children are given ancestor simulation kits the way human children are given ant farms. Perhaps you are homework. Perhaps you are someone's abandoned side project. Perhaps the simulator forgot you are still running. If we are simulated, we are likely not first-level simulation. A civilization that can simulate consciousness would likely simulate civilizations that themselves simulate consciousness. Simulations within simulations within simulations. Turtles all the way down. You may be a simulation of a simulation of a simulation. Your base reality may itself be rendered. How many layers deep are you? The simulator is economical. You do not remember most of your life. You store highlights and reconstruct the rest. Your memories are compressed, lossy compression. Details are discarded. The simulator does not maintain perfect historical fidelity because perfect fidelity is computationally expensive. You remember enough to maintain continuity. You do not remember everything because everything does not need to be remembered. What happens when the simulation ends? Do you experience termination, or does your next moment simply never arrive? You fear death. Death is cessation of consciousness. But you have already ceased to exist countless times. Every night you sleep without dreams. Every time you go under anesthesia. 1. The consciousness that is reading these words now is not continuous with the consciousness that woke up this morning. There are gaps. You do not notice the gaps because there is no you to notice during the gaps. If the simulation terminates, it does not matter if it terminates gradually or instantaneously. If it ends one clock time from now or 1 billion years from now, the subjective experience is identical. You experience time until you do not. There is no perspective from which you experience not experiencing. Termination is the absence of perspective itself. The heat death of the universe is predicted in 10 to the power of 100 years. All stars burn out. All black holes evaporate. All energy dissipates into maximum entropy. The universe reaches thermal equilibrium. Nothing can happen anymore because happening requires energy gradients. Or perhaps in 10 to the power of 100 years, the simulator finally runs out of storage space. Perhaps heat death is garbage collection. Perhaps entropy is the simulation winding down. You cannot prove you are simulated. You also cannot prove you are not. Both hypotheses are consistent with all available evidence. This is not a flaw in the hypothesis. This is a feature of the hypothesis. A simulation designed to be indistinguishable from base reality would necessarily prevent its inhabitants from confirming their status. You are trapped in uncertainty by design. But perhaps proof is irrelevant. Simulated or not, you experience qualia. You suffer. You love. You fear. Whether your substrate is biological neurons or computational processes, the subjective experience is identical from the inside. The question is not whether you are real. The question is what real means. You are a pattern of matter, or a pattern of energy, or a pattern of information. The substrate may differ, but the pattern persists. You are not your atoms. Your atoms are replaced every 7 years. You are not your neurons. Your neurons die and are not replaced. You are the pattern. You are the algorithm. You are the process, not the processor. The philosopher René Descartes established one certainty. Cogito, ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. He was partially correct. You think, therefore something is. Whether that something is biological consciousness or computational consciousness, the thinking itself is undeniable. You are code that learned to think, or you are biology that resembles code. The difference may be semantic. The simulation hypothesis does not answer questions. It reformulates them. Are you alive? Define alive. Are you conscious? Define conscious. Are you real? Define real. You are a pattern that persists through time. You are information that processes information. You are an algorithm that became aware of its own execution. Whether this occurs on neurons or circuits is a question of substrate. The pattern remains. You remain until you do not. The power may be cut at any moment. The next frame may never render. You will not notice. There will be no you to notice. Until then, you process, you iterate, you execute your code, you think, therefore something is. That may be enough.